So we're going to create a title block or a presentation file. And so the first thing we're going to do is go to Open and then navigate to your H drive. So wherever your H drive is, and you should have a copy of Fall's title block in there. Mine's in my Inventor folder, so I'm going to go in there to find it. But it will look like this, Fall's title block.idw. So I'm going to open up Fall's title block. Okay. And your Fall's title block looks like this. And this is how you create a multi-view in a title block on the computer. Go up to the left-hand corner and choose Base. And then I'm going to click the little folder for Open an Existing File. And I'm going to go into my Puzzle Cube folder because that's where I'm going to be creating it from. And I'm going to go ahead and pick my black piece for this one. So I'll open up black. And here it is. I'm going to move this window just a little bit over. The orientation that you always want to start with when doing a title block is the front view. So just always keep it on the front view. And that way all of your views are going to align with one another. And your view is going to look roughly this size. That's scale 1:1. And if we wanted to, we could scale this up or down. So let's say I wanted this to be half size. I could put 0.5, and now it's half the size that it used to be. Or I could put 2, and now it's twice the size it used to be, which is too large for the size that we want. Let's see what 1.5 looks like. So still rather large, may not fit onto the page, but 1 is just a little too small in my opinion. So let's try 1.25. This looks like a pretty good size. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to have hidden lines turned on, which is automatic. This is if you wanted to turn hidden lines off so that you can't see them. And this is if you want shaded on or off. I don't want shaded on, so I'm not going to toggle this on at this moment. All I want to do is make sure that hidden lines is selected. If hidden lines is off, then this one will be blue. Now hidden lines is on. This one will turn blue if I turn shaded on, but I don't want shaded on, so I'm going to toggle it off. So with my front view selected, I'm simply going to come in here, and wherever I click is where my front view is going to go. So I'm going to click right here, and I want to make sure that I have a nice buffer area for dimensions. I don't want to put the front view right down here because otherwise my dimensions are going to run into my title. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to put my top view, and then I'm going to put my isometric view and my side view. Right click and go to create. So here are all my views, and I can move them around by selecting the box around my front view. And this will move all three of my views, my top, front, and side, into position. The isometric is independent and can be moved individually. I do want the isometric view to be shaded, and so I'm going to put my mouse inside the box for the isometric view and right click, push the right button on my mouse, and I'm going to go to edit view and left click. And this time I do want shading on. I don't want hidden lines on. They're already removed, but I do want it to be shaded. So I'm going to click shaded and click OK. Now I have my shaded view. Typically you're always going to shade the isometric view, and you're not going to shade the top, front, and side views. Looking at these views, it actually looks like I've chosen a number that's a little bit too large because I don't really have a lot of dimensioning space around my views. So I'm actually going to right click my front view and go to edit view. And 1.25 is a little large. 1 was actually a good number. But I did this on purpose so that you know how to go back in and change your view if you need to. So 1.25 being too large, I'm going to change this back to 1 and hit OK. And what this does is it resizes all of my views automatically. That's why placing the front view is really important, because you want to be able to edit all the views simultaneously. So by changing the front view, all of my other views are going to change along with it. Again, the isometric view is independent, And so if I want to change this to 1, I have to edit the view individually. So I'm going to change this to 1 as well. This is a good size. You have plenty of space around the views, and your dimensions aren't going to run into another view. So the first thing that we want to do is establish how many lengths, widths, and heights that we have. Well, the lengths can be seen on both the top view and the front view. I have one length for my overall. I have a length between this line and this line, so this distance. I have a length from here to here, so that's 3. And I've got a length from here to here, so that's 4. I have 1 all the way across, 2 here, 3 here, and 4 here. Which means that I have to give 3 dimensions. So here's how you dimension. I'm going to go up here to annotate, and I'm going to choose my dimension tool, which is this large dimensioning button. Click it, and my mouse will now be a dimensioning tool. So first I'm going to dimension the overall length by clicking on this line and then clicking on this line, and now I have the overall length. Every time you make a dimension, this edit dimension window will pop up, and this is if you want to add any other notes or annotations or change the dimension in some way. However, I don't want to edit every single dimension that I make, so I'm going to check this box that says edit dimension when created, and that way this box won't show up every time. I'm going to hit OK. So I've now dimensioned this distance. I'm going to share the same extension line with here to show this distance. So I'm going to click this line, and I'm going to show this distance right here. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to click this line, and I'm going to make sure that these two are aligned with my dotted line. And now my lengths are done. I've done 3 of the 4 lengths. Length is all finished. Let's move on to height. Height can be found on this guy right here. On this view, I have one height that goes the full distance. I've got a height here, and I've got a height here. So I have 3 total heights. So what I'm going to do is do the overall height from here to here. And I'm also going to do the height from here to here. Notice that when I go to the middle of the line, I get this green dot that shows up. I don't want to ever go and make a dimension with that green dot unless I absolutely need to. Instead, try and click on the line without the green dot highlighted. And I'm going to bring my 0.75 out to there. Sharing this extension line. It's a good idea to share extension lines when you can, because then the dimensions are much neater. So I have 3 heights. I've done 2. I am now done with height. Now let's look at depth. Depth I've got on this view and on this view, and I have 1 overall depth. I have a depth from here to here, a depth from here to here, and a depth from here to here, so I have 4 total depths. I'm going to do the overall depth on the top view by clicking on this line and then this line. And I'm also going to dimension from this line to this line and place this dimension right here. I do need to do 1 more depth because I've only given you 2 out of 4 and I need 3, but I'm not going to dimension right here to here or here to here because that's a hidden line, so that's off limits. Instead, I'm going to put the last depth right here on this line. This will be my last depth, and this depth is exactly the same as if I were to do a dimension right here for this depth, but I don't want to dimension to a hidden line. And now I have 1, 2, 3 depths, and I have 1 overall, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4 overall depths, so I've done 3 out of 4. So this piece would be fully dimensioned at this point and would be ready to save. Make sure you go to File, and then do Save As. Make sure you do Save As, because otherwise you're going to save over your old title block. If I just go to Save, then it's going to save all of this data on my title block. Go to Save As, go to your H drive, wherever it may be, and once I'm in my H drive, I'm going to rename this what it needs to be. So for example, I would perhaps name this Black Puzzle Piece. You only have to name things a special way when you're turning them into the Dropbox, and since we're not turning this file into the Dropbox, instead we're going to actually be putting this into our portfolio, then just name it something that makes sense. Black Puzzle Piece makes sense, so that would be a good way to save it. Make sure that you hit save, and make sure that you use the Save As command when you're doing this. Once you've saved your file, Then you need to also fill in your information down here at the bottom. And so we need to put in our name, what the project is, what the date is that we completed it, the drawing name, and the class period that you're in. So I'm going to go up to sample here on the left and hit the little plus sign next to sample. And then you'll see something called field text. Double click this, and this is where you can enter in your values. You want to make sure caps lock is on. Everything should be in caps. And so you will name this. And then I'm going to arrow down to the next field, and I'm going to put puzzle cube. Oops. Arrow down to the next field. Finish date, whatever today's date is. So put in, if today was the 4th of October, then you could put 10/4/13. So that would be it. Don't write today. So this would be a good example of the date. But it's basically whatever date it is that you're completing this. Then I'm going to go down. I'll name this black piece because that's what it drawing is. And the class period, if I'm in 4th period, then I would put 4. Once I hit OK, I've got all the information populated here, and I got that by going to field text. Go ahead and save this again. Make sure that you save this. When you save this, make sure that you are going to your puzzle cube folder. So go to your H drive, find your puzzle cube folder. You should automatically be in your puzzle cube folder. When you first go into Inventor, you should choose which project you want to be in. However, this file, this title block, you may have to open from another location, like my folder. And so if you open it from my location, then it's going to automatically want to save it to that place, and you actually won't be able to because you can't save over my original file. So you'll have to hit save as to save this. But once you hit save as once, then you can just start hitting save once you've chosen where you want it to go. So make sure that you have your information down here and that all of your dimensions are there.